I mailed some to you, did you get it? I just wanted to make sure. That wasn't.
Okay, I show it's 3 o'clock. Would everyone please rise and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Would anyone on the board care to read our mission and vision statement?
I have to, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir.
It is the mission of Northwest Regional Airport Authority strives to be a major driver of economic growth in northern Michigan by providing world-class service to build prosperity. In our vision, the Cherry Capital Airport is to be the airport of choice for all residents and visitors of Northwest Michigan.
Thank you, and I understand it's your birthday, so
Thank you.
happy birthday.
Yeah, it's my present to myself.
36, I'm guessing.
Pretty close.
Yep.
Well, sir.
Reverse.
Roll call, please.
Beachtown.
Here.
Bunning.
Here.
Mr. Dean, his work. Henschel.
I'm here.
John Cobb. He said he'd be running. Nelson. Here. O'Rourke. Here. Lamonde.
Present.
Schmidt. Here. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Review and approval of the agenda.
Move to approve as presented.
Support.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by, Mr. Bonnet?
Yeah, I was just wondering if, with the government shutdown, and I was wondering if we could have a discussion about the federal employees, maybe at the end, towards the end. If that would be all
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. We can do that under management, or under member comment. Member comment, if you want to bring that up under member comment, we can add that.
Okay. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Any issues with amending the agenda, those of you that moved and supported? No further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Public comment on anything on our agenda. If you would like to address us, please do so to myself as the chair. If you would, please step to the podium, identify yourself, where you're from, and be conscientious of others, and keep your comments to 3 minutes, please. Okay, no public comment, it looks like. Reading and approval of previous minutes, we have the minutes from the regular meeting on September 30th.
Move to support.
Support.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Consent calendar. The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one authority motion without discussion. Any member of the authority, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such request will be automatically respected. Any item not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file for approval, is approved by a single authority action adopting the consent calendar. We have nothing to receive and file. We do have one approval, a resolution 2025-82 to adopt the Northwest Regional Airport Authority generative AI policy.
Make a motion, we approve resolution 202582.
Support.
Moved and supported, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Reading of communications. At this time, we are privileged to actually introduce our new airport officers and have them take their oath of office.
Well, as we do that, you remember Chief Fitzgerald, our new chief, and it was historic to swear in Chief Fitzgerald to begin our journey on our police department endeavor. Since then, we've hired 4 new officers to join us on that journey. And today is the official swearing in of those officers to really, I would say, kick us off officially.
Right.
And, you know, they've been training, I would say, for about now, almost a month. And they are definitely getting the lay of the land, so to speak. But it's very exciting that, you know, we are off and running with our first ever police department. Once, kind of give you a schedule, once we do the swearing in, there's still processes that have to be put in place, but we look for their official takeover in January. So, Chief, I'll let you do the introduction.
Yes. First off, we have Alex Bendixson, who's one of the officers, if they'll come up. Officer Jason Shipman, Officer Matt Humphrey, and Officer Eric Bohr. These are all full-time officers who will swear in today. You guys would raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of police officer
of police officer
for the Northwest Regional Airport Authority,
for the Northwest Regional Airport Authority,
Police Department,
Police Department,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Alex Bendixson, Jason Shipman, Matt Humphrey, and Eric Moore.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
Very special day.
Yes, indeed. We have a department. Okay, that brings us to item 2 in communications.
Tonight, at 4 o'clock from 4 to 6, immediately following the board meeting, we are having, and we invite the guest chair of the meeting downstairs in our vending room, a chili dinner for our federal employees to recognize their hard work and efforts that are taking place. So to thank them, and then also Autumn has made sure that we have containers for takeover. So, so immediately following that, we invite everybody downstairs.
We have no reports from standing committees or special committees, so that brings us to unfinished business.
At last month's meeting, we approved pro-image design with work on the economy lot. And that was that contract was for $86,185.33. However, there was a clerical error and a difference of $633.34. And so, to make sure we have all the proper audit reports, we'd like to reapprove that memo for a total cost of $86,818.67.
Move to approve resolution 2025-83.
Moved and supported, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Hi, Dan. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
New business, resolution 2025-84.
Okay. All right, this is the second amendment for Protect Fire Services, as their agreement is through October 31st of this month. We're extending this through 2 additional years to November of 2027. We've updated the rates. Further hour rate for 2026 will be $63.61 per hour. And then when we have to add an additional firefighter for Index C, it's $94.39. The rate from November 1st, 26 to October 31st, 27 will be $66.17 and $97.69 respectively for Index C. So we greatly appreciate their services. And then I'm sorry, 2028 is also on there. Will be $68.48 and $100.62. So we appreciate their great services that they've provided. They've done an absolute fine job. Airport cert inspection, they were outstanding on, and so we strongly recommend, staff strongly recommends Protect Fire Services to extend the
Make a motion to adopt resolution 2025-84.
Support. Discussion? Hearing none, oh, Mr. Bunny?
Yeah, this actually is gonna extend what we have now for 2 more years, so.
Yeah, through 2028.
Okay, so we won't be dealing with the city or the.
Not, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've made in close contact with them, that with them setting up their ambulance division and some of their staffing issues, it's probably gonna be a while before they'll be ready. So right now, though, Protect is doing an outstanding job.
Great.
And, you know, I'm really pleased with their services.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 2, resolution 2025-85.
Okay, this is the first amendment to the Elite Security Group service contract. So as you understand that we are bringing on board our police department, therefore there's a change in services needed at the checkpoint by Elite. So their services are gonna focus more on off hours, so when the checkpoint is not open, they'll be here in those off hours, the overnight hours. And then also our front curb work that we have during our peak times of the year. So there will be services, oh, and one last point, employee screening. So, sorry, Dan, I knew I would forget that. So we will have them to be able to assist us with those services and supplement us as we need that. So those rates are in your memo. The rate for January 5, 26 to 27 is $38.42 for the first officer, $30.22 for additional officers for curbside. We pay overtime at 1.5 rate for additional honor works plus holiday pay for New Year's Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving Day, and Christmas Day at $57.63 for the first officer and $45.33 for additional officers. They've been providing great service, and we recommend continuing that.
Any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we adopt, resolution 2025-85.
Moved and supported. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Resolution 2025-86.
Okay. So, to quick sum this up, we have a fuel sales contract and we charge 11 cents a gallon basically on that. With the Beta electric charging, we need to have a mechanism to charge for that electric going into the airplane, just like we have for the fuel plant. So our team has worked, Carrie and Mark, specifically to come up with that formula. We've worked with Aflight to put that into the agreement. Carrie, you want to explain the formula?
Yes, well, the formula is you will receive, so, Aflight contracts with Beta Technology for the generator, and then, Beta Technology receives 50% of the amount that, no, so Beta Technology receives all of the money that is paid for the electricity to the aircraft or vehicles or whatever. And then Beta gives to Aflac 50% of that amount as payment to Aflac for operating it, and then we'll get 50% of that.
So we basically get 25%
Yeah.
of whatever. Have they started the construction of the charge stations?
So construction's actually finished.
Oh, wow.
Yep, they're finishing up some work over at their FBO facility. I think they're really gonna launch it after their new FBO facility comes online.
And their construction's moving right along.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve resolution number 2025-86, second amendment resolution.
Support.
Discussion?
I think it's great we're gonna use generators for electricity and airplanes. All fossil fuels are working.
Yeah. Once there's electric plants. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Resolution 2025-87.
Okay, this is for construction administration services with Nathan Hunt for the HVAC project. We've been talking about the HVAC project. That is for the current public space and the current, what we call A concourse. This is not part of the terminal project. This is to replace the aging boilers and chillers and other units part of that system. So Bob, asked for a contract. He's done the independent fee review and has completed the negotiation for a fee of $323,233, and that is consistent with a project of this nature. Bob, would you like to explain?
So just for reference, we're looking at approximately $10 million for construction costs on this project. Probably take, add a little over a year. So we'll be bidding that out in the new year. We're working, with our terminal addition project. There's some strategy to doing some of that bidding that we're looking into. So, we'll be coming to you in the new year, and, but this was the first step. We do have to finish off the bid documents. We kind of got it to a stopping point, if you will. Now we're ready to complete the bid documents and get those out to bid in the new year.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2025-87.
Support. I move to accept that.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Resolution 2025-88.
Okay, this is to approve change order number 2. Change order number 1, if you remember at last meeting, we had the legacy. So what we did is we rolled that as change order number 1 into this particular contract to streamline that for Elmer's. And so then this is change order number 2 for a net decrease on the overall project of $6,544.87. And Bob, why don't you explain the decrease?
Yep, so, basically we got through construction and, of the curb work in particular, and we were able to, essentially say, we know we don't need any more of that quantity. Again, in an effort to try and keep, the project within the established, $3 million budget, we wanted to be conscious of that. So we recognized those credits that we could for the point of construction, while we did have to come back in, to add, a couple items, to take care of some lighting, that wasn't originally included, in our work on the bus shelters. So, just cleaning up some items on that.
Well, I thought it mentioned something that about it being more expensive, so we found a different way to get there, or?
Yeah, so, what it was, when we contacted the bus shelter manufacturer, their product line for lighting these bus shelters was basically twice as expensive as the product that Bill came up with in working with our electrical contractor. So, we went for the more cost-effective solution.
Thank you.
Yep.
a motion, we adopt, resolution 2025-88.
Support.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 6, resolution 2025-89.
Well, this is exciting.
This is the big one.
This is the big one. So, today, we've got Pat McGowan here with us. He'll do a quick presentation, but I'd like to introduce, where we're at with the bond and the project. As we promised when we left, Grand Traverse County Study Session last March, that we'd be working to come back here this fall, particularly targeted in November, with Grand Traverse County to ask for their full faith and credit support on the bonds. That ask when we left in March for full faith and credit was for $71 million. That's $60 million construction cost, and then approximately additional $11 million of financing and bond cost fees, et cetera, that are associated with $60 million in bonds. So we worked closely with that. We've been able to meet with county staff, council, and their financial planners to discuss the ordinance, to clarify language, et cetera. Those meetings have been very successful. And we've been happy with the response, and I think we've covered all the requests that we heard back in March, within that ordinance. And Pat, I don't wanna steal your thunder, but he'll cover that. So when we look at the overall financing plan of this, we had the discussion with the board that $60 million of that would come from the typical federal sources, airport improvement program, airport improvement grant portions, entitlement dollars, discretionary dollars, airport terminal program plans, or ATP. So far to date, and we continue to move forward. We've had the commitment from the FAA. Steve, you were down with the ADO, and working to get that $60 million. What we have in place is $26.7 million in discretionary funding, $5.31 million in airport improvement grants, $5.1 million in entitlement funding. What we'll be looking for here then in the coming years of 26, 27, and finishing in 28 is approximately a 4.5, 10 million and 5.1 in ATP to round out, plus our entitlement dollars to round out. A couple of good things that has happened since our program has started is because of the terminal program, that increased discretionary funding to about 3.7 million. And then because of our passenger numbers increasing, our overall entitlement dollars went from about 2.8 million to around 3.1 million, so per year. So there's an additional almost 500,000 or $500,000 generated in just increased passengers from year to year that's going on. So we're very confident that federal funding will be in place at the time of we go forward and move forward. For the remainder $60 million, what our intentions are, as we talked about in the previous, is to issue 2 sets of bonds. The first bond will be to kick us off, and we estimate that to be approximately $40 million for construction costs and about 45 total for financing, et cetera, in round numbers. What we're gonna do though in the meantime then is to go after 28 million of TIFIA funds, the Transportation Infrastructure Act from the Build America Bureau. Typically those funds are granted towards highways. However, airports in certain for our designation rule have been able to tap into those funds and be a part of that. We've been working with them, and that looks very, very promising for us. We put in the first portions of that applications and submittal, so we've begun that process. So we think that will cover it. So at that point, what we're hoping that all we need is the full faith and credit is on that first bond issue. And then we have the TIFIA funds, and we'll pursue state funding for any type of agreement. which I think that would put that around, if I had my numbers correctly, about $3 million. So we're very excited for that. However, when we go forward to the county, to ask for full faith and credit, we will be asking for the original amount of the $71 million. We need to be able to do that for contracts to be in place, to be able to kick off and get going. But after, once we've done that first issuance and we do see the TIFIA funds roll in, then we will reconfirm that full faith and credit just for that amount. But we have, sticking with the 71 million is what we've asked for, and we're going to continue with that. So at this time, I just real quick to go through some of the things that have happened. We had that October 14th, 2024 meeting, and then we adopted the notice of intent resolution in November of 24, which basically started the referendum period that went through January 13th of 2025. We had continued presentations in March of 2025 with the county at a study session. And then on October 15th, I conducted a public hearing on the issue of bonds pursuant to plan of financing in accordance with section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986. And that is, the TEFRA hearing is typically known, and Pat will get more into that and explain it. So that was conducted. So that brings us to this step today, then to be able to go ask for that full faith and credit and to go down to that pledge. So with that said, I'd like to bring up Pat Dow, our legal counsel from Pat.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon. It's been about a year since I was here last. That was that October meeting when we had the representatives from both Grand Traverse County and Leelanau County here to kind of lay out the financing. So Kevin gave a really good summary of what we've done since that time, and just kind of to hit the highlights of where we've come. Really, that I would characterize as the preliminary steps related to the bond. We had that initial discussion last year in October. The authority board indicated its intent to go forward with a bond issue for the project. Both county boards indicated their support in the issuance of debt for the project, and that was described as a project requiring a bond or a borrowing of roughly $60 million for project costs and additional costs to bring it to a total of $71 million. So that's the number that has been tentatively approved for the bond issue. This authority board in November adopted a notice of intent resolution which confirmed that number. So that is the amount that has been indicated as the preliminary intent to issue bonds, which are airport revenue bonds payable from the net revenues. Obviously, there's a lot of other federal grants and sources involved, but when we talk about the bond issue, that's the number we're talking about is the 71 million, and both counties have given their approval to move forward with that. At the time, Grand Traverse County indicated its intent to pledge its full faith and credit, recognized that we would have to come back to them when we actually had the bond package put together and get a formal approval from the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners. We do not need to go to the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners again, because under state law, in order to pledge full faith and credit for an airport revenue bond, only the county in which the airport is located can do that. So we have what we need from Leelanau County Board, which was their tentative approval of the bond issuance. We got that from Grand Traverse, but we will go back to Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners to get that full faith and credit approval. So there's a lot of procedural steps required with this. One of the things that Kevin mentioned was there is a public hearing that needs to be held under federal law to provide comments. That was properly noticed and that was held on October 15th. Where we're at right here is the action item before you today is to adopt the bond ordinance, which is the document that authorizes the authority to issue up to $71 million in airport revenue bonds in one or more series to pay the cost of the project. So this is the one bond ordinance that would authorize that in one or more series. Right now, we're looking at having the first issuance be early next year, which would be a number somewhere in the $40 to $45 million range for project and issuance costs combined. that would authorize a bond sale sometime in the spring to get that first chunk of money in from the bond issue. Obviously, there's grants and other sources that are coming in, and there's a lot of timing issues that have been worked through with the authority to make sure that the money's in place when we need it. The second financing is contemplated through the TIFIA program, which is a federal program, which is beneficial here because it's a lower interest rate, and we can issue the bonds to them at a lower cost, and we would not need the county full faith and credit pledge for that. So we've had discussions with the federal agency on that. Again, it's a federal program. There's hoops to jump through yet to be done, but that's something that's intended for the second phase of the financing. So this ordinance before you today is intended to authorize the bonds for the total amount of $71 million. It's possible we might have to come back later to make some tweaks or amendments if needed by a rating agency or to comply with the federal program. But this could be the only authorization we need from this authority board to move forward. And that's our intent, to try to get this authorized. It then delegates to the CEO and CFO to take the necessary steps to move forward with the bond issue. So this is a pretty long document, and that's because there's lots of hoops that you have to jump through under state law. This type of revenue bond is the same statute that authorizes water and sewer revenue bonds that local units of government do. And the idea is this is intended to essentially indicate how the bonds are going to be paid back, which is a pledge of airport net revenues, what the security is to bondholders, and various covenants that bondholders want to know so that they know that this is a good investment. So just to kind of hit the highlights of what the ordinance does. Again, we already talked about the parameters. Not to exceed $71 million for the project. The airport net revenues are pledged as security to bondholders. So that means that all the money you get from your landing fees, parking fees, concessions, rentals, etc., get pooled together. After you pay your expenses, that remaining amount of money are the net revenues. So that is what is pledged for the bondholders. And that is expected to be sufficient to cover the bond debt going forward. If it turns out those revenues are not sufficient, maybe there's a year that there's a bad year or something, this ordinance also sets up a bond reserve fund. And that bond reserve fund is typical in revenue bonds. It's roughly equal to about a year's worth of debt service. So the idea is that if you have a bad year, let's take a COVID type situation where air flights are down, revenues are down, you have the ability to dip into that reserve fund and cover the debt service shortfall. So, and that's a pretty standard reserve fund. It's roughly the lesser of 10% of the bonds, or about 125% of your average annual debt service. If that is not sufficient, that is then when the county pledge would be called upon. And that would essentially have a request to Grand Traverse County to cover that shortfall. The county would advance funds, and then the way it works going backwards is then the authority is required to set rates and charges to a level to pay all the debt service and cover those draws. So Grand Traverse County, if that happened, would be paid back first from future revenues in a future year. And then after that, then that bond reserve would be reinstated so that those funds would be available. So this is a pretty common mechanism for revenue bonds and airport revenue bond financings. We did have a lot of conversations with Grand Traverse County Board staff, their consultants about this. We talked about the covenants that would be in here, and those covenants are in this ordinance, similar to the financings that are done at the Grand Rapids Airport, which has a similar structure. So we have I believe a study session is being scheduled with the county in November, and we would be going to the county board for approval probably sometime in November. But in the meantime, this ordinance for you is kind of this first step because it essentially locks in those covenants, that structure of the bonds, and it kind of sets the parameters for the bond issue, which the most important ones are that they can be issued, again, not to exceed that $71 million. It sets a limit on the compensation to the underwriter, who's the buyer of the bonds, at no more than 1% of the principal amount. It says the maximum rate of the bonds will be no more than 8%. We think that's a lot higher than what we need because currently those tax exempt rates are maybe closer to, I don't know what, Mark, 5?
Yeah, roughly about 5%.
I'm talking about 5% right now, maybe that'll go down. That also gives us flexibility if parts of this has to be taxable. Right now, we expect that this would be a tax exempt bond, a private activity bond, that would be financed not more than 30 years to pay the cost of the projects. So that's essentially what the parameters are in this ordinance, and then it delegates to the airport staff to go out and sell those bonds. Again, we might have to come back if there's some tweaks on that ordinance that need to be done to satisfy a rating agency of the federal government in the future, but potentially this could be the last action item for this board on the bond issue, although you're gonna see a lot more things coming your way related to the project. So if approved by you here today, that essentially, the ordinance would be published. We will then go to the Grand Traverse County Board to seek their approvals that we need in order to move forward with the bond issue. Again, we're targeting November for that timetable. The finance team is being put together to start work on disclosure documents and applications to the rating agencies, which would be in the first part of 2026. You've got other consultants dealing with the rate structure to put together that financial modeling so that we would go to get bond ratings in January, potentially selling bonds as early as February with the closing in March. Now with a bond issue like this, when you close, you get all that money at closing. So let's say we go out with a $45 million bond issue. We would have that money, it would be invested and available to pay those project draws that occur over the next year or so. And also you earn interest on that money that would also be available for future construction. So that's essentially how this would work. And then again, as the finance team is working to match up the grants and sources, a second financing with the TIFIA program is expected or targeted to occur then in 2027, and that would be the remaining financing necessary for the project. So that's kind of what's in here in the ordinance. I know there's a lot of pages in here. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about the ordinance or the bond issuance process itself.
So the full faith and credit of Grand Traverse County, is that required for the bond sale, or is that simply reduce the interest rate for the bonds, so it makes it a less risky investment and therefore lower? So could the project still move forward without the approval of full faith and credit of Grand Traverse County?
Yeah, good question. So it is not legally required for the county to pledge its full faith and credit. It is a credit issue. So the Grand Traverse County has an excellent credit rating. They're rated AA+ by Standard & Poor's, which is just one notch below AAA. So what that does is it does exactly as you suggested. It lowers the interest rate on this bond issue to the market, which lowers your cost of borrowing. So could the authority go out and get its own credit rating that would allow us to sell bonds? The answer is yes, but it would be a higher interest rate if we did so without the county's full faith and credit in a traditional bond market sale. Now the TIFIA program, it's going to be the same rate regardless, which is why we're not expecting and wouldn't ask the county for the full faith and credit through that federal program.
So what would the estimated 30-year bond repayment, assuming let's say it's 5%, what would an estimated annual repayment be for the bonds?
So I actually don't have all of those numbers. There's been a lot of different modeling.
Just
Mark?
estimate.
Yeah, we did some high above, top, on the top of the napkin type estimates. And most recent numbers we've looked at, you're looking at on an average debt service of about $4.5 million per year. Maximum payment is going to be roughly, as we get towards the tail end, of about 5.3 for that last annual debt service payment. But that's kind of the estimate that we're looking at right now. A lot of variables in there, of course, related to rates and whatnot.
Is that based on the county's credit rating or?
Yeah, that's based upon the full faith and credit amount. Yeah, I think prior analysis we did, if we for some reason had to go with our own, I think it was about roughly $600,000 additional per year in interest that we would pay, just based upon some projections and estimates they felt, if they put together a bond rating for us.
So county offering the full faith and credit would be a substantial reduction in the payments.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
About $18 million over the related bonds. Yes, sir, question?
Thank you. The bond reserve account, I heard you right, took my notes right, you said it'll be about 10% of the bond or 125% of the annual payment. Did I get that right?
Yeah, it's actually, yes, it's gonna be probably one of those two. We like to describe it as roughly a year's worth of debt service. There's a tax test as to how you size it, but that's roughly what it would be, yes.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Bonnet?
Yeah, and you talked about the TIFIA fund, that's not a grant, that's a loan also?
It is a loan, and it is set at the interest rate on that is based upon treasury rates at the time. The good news is the airport qualifies as a rural project, which gives you a much lower interest rate based upon those treasury rates. So that is a loan that has to be paid back, but again, it's got a low interest rate, and I think the way they do it, the funding is based on draws, so you don't have to start paying it all back at once. So it provides a more favorable borrowing cost to the authority because of the lower interest rate. There's not to get too much in the weeds, but they have formulas to determine how much the authority is eligible for, and that's what we're pursuing. So that's kind of targeting to maximize that, but there's a limit on how much we can borrow through that program based on other federal funds and things. So we are trying to maximize the size of that to give the best benefit and lowest borrowing cost to the authority.
So if that comes through, then that's why you would stay at the 45 or whatever you're going to start with.
Yeah, so so when we say TIFIA loan, to me that means borrowing. So that whatever that loan amount is counts against that 71 million. So even though we call it a loan, it's still technically under that same. We're going to use this same structure. They want to see the same pledge of revenues from the airport as we have here for the bond market. And so yes, it's the TIFIA loan amount plus this first bond issue is all within that $71 million authorization. The grant funds that we don't have to pay back don't count towards that number.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Mr. McGowan. We appreciate it. You've enlightened us, and now we need to take action on resolution 2025-89.
I'll make the motion that we adopt resolution 2025-89.
Second.
Discussion? We will take a roll call vote for this, please.
Beechtown.
Yes.
Bunnick.
Yes.
Henschel.
Yes.
John Cobb.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Rourke.
Yes.
Lamonde.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item 7, resolution 2025-90.
Okay, as promised, as part of our strategic plan that we would update minimum standards, Carrie has worked diligently over the last year to provide that update. Some of those updates of the areas that include in the minimum standards include, of course, what we talked about today, electric vehicle charging, parachute activities, air carrier ground handling operation, and air shows. Other updates, the aviation fueling definition expanded, other special events that are held here at the airport, non-commercial flying clubs definition to more closely define the activity that's happening, a non-commercial hangar tenant storage, basically reducing some of the square footage requirements as we have now the Goki hangars over on the west side that can store aircraft. So we provided some of that. So all those are in there. It also, we've enhanced some of our waivers and modification and enforcement. We updated the insurance table. That's part of that the minimum standards, so it's updated. We work with our insurance company, et cetera, for that. So today what we're doing is we're just introducing them. We're introducing them to the public. What we'll do is then publish them online on our website at tvcairport.com. They'll be on the website. We'll also share with the aeronautical tenants of the airport. And so we're looking for comments back from our tenants by November 30th. That is our anticipation to have them back. Then we'll have a public hearing. What I would like to do and suggest, and I know we talked a little bit about January, but what I'd like to do is, because minimum standards typically draw comments, I'd like to have a special meeting for that in December. So I'll work with the chair for a date, so we have a special meeting to have that public hearing, so the tenants can come in and give responses. And then get those comments wrapped up so we can move on it, at the December board. So again, under the resolution, then introduce proposed edits to the minimum standards and direct the distribution and revision to the aeronautical tenants and operators for comment through November 30th.
Make a motion, we adopt 2025-90.
Support.
Discussion, the only thing I'd like to say, it's a fairly lengthy document and it was outlined clearly for us. You know, take some time, read it, and obviously we may have some questions and comments as well.
And thank you for the red line,
Yeah.
for the red, it made it very helpful. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not exactly formatted perfectly because of the red line, but I thought that would be helpful to see.
Yeah.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Report of our CEO.
All right. October's been pretty busy. Tourism board meeting, we've had multiple airline meetings talking about the terminal addition, different needs. Rates and charges, as we talked about, rates and charges to ensure we can pay our bonds, and all those that have to be negotiated as part of the agreement. So we've been having multiple airline meetings throughout the month. So Delta was first, United followed, and then we did a tour for the interim city manager here on the 3rd. We had a meeting down to the FAA Airports District Office, which the chair attended. Comment?
It was a great meeting. We talked first about closing out some old bonds or grants, and hopefully we continue to make headway on that. But most exciting part was how welcoming they were to our current project.
Yeah, it was good. And we could fit 3 people across the small back seat of the car. That was even better.
We saved as much money as we could on transportation.
Mark never gets to pay
Yeah,
the car out here. Yeah, don't have your finance officer.
The finance guy make the recommendation.
Just saying. Just saying. We had our annual snow and ice plan review and also cybersecurity training for staff. Frank, our IT manager, put on great training, talking about some of the latest cyber threats. Of course, the airline industry and airport industry have been targets of late. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania was a great example where their cyber criminals attacked the flight information display system, the FITS, that you see that has all the airline information, and they put messages across. So we're not immune to it. So we thank Frank and his efforts to train us and become more aware of what's going on. We had American Airlines network planning meeting, which of course they are very happy, looking to continue their growth here for next summer. So we look to see what they may add in the future. The Mid-Michigan Honor Flight. Congratulations to Dan and the team that helped pull that off. What a wonderful event that is. I mean, I'm speechless every time. It's just so wonderful to see that event. If you haven't been a part of it, next year will be another year. Please come out and visit. I think one of the best parts always is the return home when, they get greeted by everybody and signs, the flags, the letters that are shared. It's pretty moving. So, thank you for moving forward.
I think it's also interesting to know what community support financially is given to that.
Absolutely.
It's huge,
Absolutely.
because it costs a lot too.
Yeah.
And a lot of different people contribute.
Patriot game.
Yeah.
There's, I think the entry fees, and then I think it was the kids in the third quarter ran around with buckets, the bucket brigade for donations, so I was proud of the kids.
It's amazing.
So, Mark Bishop, our CFO, attended the AAA Passenger Facility Charge Rates and Charges Conference in Denver. We conducted the TEFRA hearing on the 15th. Heather attended the MERS conference. That's what delegation's all about. Thank you, Heather, for doing that.
It's not terrible.
A delight to the month, former airport director Steve Casson stopped by. He gave him a tour. He gave his stamp of approval on the architectural designs. It was great to see him. He's doing really well. He's now, I believe he's already in Florida for the winter, but he's doing very well, very healthy. He looks great. So it was great to visit with him. Airport tour also took place for Elliot Black, Director of Finance and Administration for the Lansing Airport. But we know Elliot Black from a different role. Elliot retired from the FAA. Elliot Black was the administrator at headquarters that finally approved the use of passenger facility charge for the instrument landing system for runway 10. So it was great to have that tour with Elliot. I did a halftime interview at St. Francis High School football game with Next Level Broadcasting. We talked a lot about the airport, the honor flight, and things happening. It was great, and I even got to do football commentary, so. Maybe a next line of work. Met with United Airlines and their network planning, which was great. We're continuing to see growth for them, and they have mighty plans also. So we'll see what that brings forward in the next couple of years. And then according Title VI training, sexual harassment training for non-management staff, and we'll continue with management staff actually tomorrow. So, so that was busy time.
Thank you. Operating.
Operations report. Well, this was a fun month because we got the TSA numbers in, and then we got all the airlines numbers in, and they didn't. So we had to have Ron do some heavy lifting and go back and figure it all out. But with that, it was another great month, 21.6%. We're up 21.7% for the year. Total passenger movements in the month of September was 85,000. We're at 759,763. Our last year number for the full year was 787,114.
Did I beat it?
So we will beat that. So definitely. And I think when we beat that, my number that I put in the envelope, we'll see what happens. It's gonna be low. So, with that, awesome numbers, continue great passenger numbers that we see.
Thank you. Accounts receivable report.
I wish it could look that good every month.
That is the shortest
No
one
news
I've
to
ever seen.
report, yeah.
Thank you for your efforts.
Mhm.
Budget review, Mr. Bonnet?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're doing great. This is as of 9/30. We're actually $500,000 ahead of last year, even with the winter expenses. You know, so, and it's all because of the increase of over 20%. You know, we're just doing so much better than last year, so. We do, you can see some of the expenses are, you know, mostly related to the winter, but also because of the increased traffic. So it's a wonderful report.
Thank you. General public comments. Again, if you would like to speak regarding any airport activity, I'd ask that you step at the podium, identify yourself, where you live, and be respectful to others and restrict your comments to 3 minutes, please.
County Road Commission. Well, I don't think anybody in this room would think that we haven't been working in the last couple of months. There's pretty much road construction everywhere that you look. I just wanted to do a couple wrap-up things for the season. Obviously, we are getting the plows on, we have the salt ready, the sand ready. We're good to go, hopefully not for a few more months, but we are ready. So wanted to wrap up a few things. As far as looking forward to next year, we have two large projects on the horizon. The MPO project will be Cass Road this year. That is a partnership with the City of Traverse City Streets Department, Leelanau County Road Commission, Grand Traverse Road Commission, which are the three Act 51 agencies for the MPO that we have now. This will be the second year of MPO projects. So you'll see Cass Road getting done. We don't have to do the infrastructure component with the water and sewer, so there will be still some significant road construction, and that is south of South Airport, going from South Airport, where the Beta building used to be. It is now heating and cooling, I think, and all the way to Robbins Bridge. The other one will be the completion finally of Hammond Road. We have to wait and work around the federal aid projects and get our repairs to Town Line Road. That won't be the official detour, just like it never would be, but we all know that people are going to probably use that. So with the 3-mile construction this year and the Town Line upgrade, we're now ready to complete Hammond Road from Town Line to 4 miles. So that'll be a welcome project for sure. Good things happened with 3 Mile. That wrapped up pretty well. I don't know if you guys have had much opportunity. We did have both Garfield and East Bay Township approve the weight restriction for Town Line Road, and a little rough at first, but we had enough people call in and complain if you see major large trucks on there, except for the ones that are allowed for the one company that's there. There's a landscape company with a waiver. We certainly can use some help there, but now we're mostly having some compliance. And we also, across town on Barney Road, are finishing up a project there, and that too has another agreement for weight restrictions on it as well, to try to keep that fix we've done in as good a shape as possible. Just a reminder on Citizen Reporter, again, go to your phone, go to the website. There is a button that says report a problem, and I'm gonna repeat myself again, but I wanna get it out to as many people as possible. That goes right to our dispatch crews. It doesn't sit in somebody's inbox or on their desk. It geolocates all of the things that have been reported. It can be things like limbs down or deer in the road, potholes. It can also be just, we live on a gravel or dirt road and we need grading to be done, or we're seeing some deterioration. We've had frequent complaints of standing water. We want to take care of that and get the wedging done so that we're able to get drainage on the roads and we don't have that freeze thaw making everything worse for us in the spring. We were able to squeeze in one last project real quickly. Bunker Hill Road was done at last minute. We had the funds. They were already out doing some repairs, and MDOT, Rail had already pulled their permits, and Eagle had pulled their permits. So we joined together in a partnership to save time and money for everybody, and we were able to get some drainage in there and fix some standing water before the folks that live on Bunker Hill Road went into another winter of freezing roads and damaging their roads. And then one last thing, I wasn't able to be here last month, and it was sad news to report, but you know, we had done, thanks to Susan and her crew, getting out as much communications as we could. There was a double fatality in South County of some young folks that was due to someone running a stop sign over and not reporting it. And then about an hour later, and this all happened in the evening, overnight, about an hour later, somebody went through that stop sign and unfortunately killed those 2 young people. So we put out just a message far and wide and have been trying to let people know when accidents happen and are reported, the Road Commission is dispatched along by Central Dispatch with all of the other first responders. So if a sign is taken down or a light is damaged, we know because but if somebody's drinking and barrels down through a stop sign in the middle of the night, they probably aren't reporting it. So if you see a stop sign down, a yield sign down, a traffic light not working, please hit that Citizen Reporter and let us know. Call non-emergent Central Dispatch. We immediately want to get somebody there in the middle of the night as soon as we can so that we never have something like that happen again. But if you see a sign down, don't assume we know, because I promise you, it wouldn't be down if we knew. We send somebody out within a few minutes to the scenes of those types of accidents. So we need everybody's help. And with that, I think that was it, wrapping up for the winter, or getting ready for the winter and wrapping up for the season.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
So when, big trucks, you know, get directions on their iPhone on how to get someplace, does it tell them they can't go on certain roads?
So it is part of that system that should be integrated in, the same type of system that tells you when there's a construction official detour or something like that. I mean, I kinda hope if it doesn't, the big signs that we have tell them that this isn't, but it should be part of that whole integrated system, cause anything that has to do like that by resolution or traffic safety control device is all reported to MDOT and goes through them, so that's where those GPS systems, they're gonna.
You know, I was just driving here thinking about this very issue, because there is a sign that says airport this way, but there's no sign under it that says no trucks. So that would be a recommendation. I would say if you got any directional signage, no trucks, that truckers know what that means.
If you could push the button on your phone.
Citizen revert.
Not kidding you, like that really immediately goes to the crews, and then what we do is efficiently try to geolocate them so that we don't send people all over the place, but instead they're getting their repairs done in a timely manner, so please do that, because this is kinda new for us, these types of restrictions, so.
Mr. O'Rourke?
The roundabout was open today.
Yes.
7222, and I just wanna thank you and the road commission for the terrible mess we had. Greg, Blue Guy, Cedar Run, everybody was, you know, you were backed up a little bit, but everybody dealt with it and were pretty nice, but thank you for the stoplights, maybe some future more stoplights.
The RSAs have been complete, and the turning radius, studies have been set for the spring, as soon as we have a thaw. That's our next step with MDOT in the traffic safety control plan. So we are moving forward. We have identified funding for two more lights. So we're looking at critical intersections that they could work in, and that's
one of them.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Any other public comments? Seeing none, board comments, we want to talk about the federal shutdown.
Well, I just wanted to, you know, I saw the chili dinner on there, and I just thought that that was a wonderful thing to do, and, you know, it just, because of the shutdown, they're not getting paid, and so, I don't know if there's anything more the airport can do for them, but I just wanted to say that I would support that.
Well, I greatly appreciate it. So from like a revenue contribution or anything along those lines, we can't, because it falls under the Revenue Act. But what we've done is for the chili, we've worked with our cafe, so they're cooking the chili and baking the chili. And we ensure that there's take-home containers that they can take that home. Mark Bishop has also reached out to some of our local banks. Several of the banking and financial institutions have provided some relief to federal employees, and so Mark is gonna be able to share that with some of the employees at the dinner. So whether it's a mortgage break or delayed payment, whatever it might be, there are some financing, financial institution relief. Specifically, we talked with Huntington Bank, and I think seen some other things like Chase and the same thing. So we've been trying to provide that information out to those employees, and definitely checking in on them. We've been doing that quite a bit, and I have to say that the cafe has stepped up. If there was anybody that needed a lunch or food or anything along those lines, they've done that. We've also connected them to other community resources like Bayside Market. Bayside Market is raising funds for food for any of the federal employees that they can go and attend that. So we've been doing a lot of community outreach to link them to sources.
Kevin, excuse me, so are TSA and like air traffic control, they're required because they're not.
They're
getting
essential
paid.
services.
But then they're not getting paid.
They're not getting paid. Their last paycheck was a partial pay on bottom company, was it around the second week of October?
Yeah, I think it was like this.
And you've probably seen in the news in particular, it's affected ATC.
Correct.
There's been a lot of,
We've been fortunate
Call-ins.
in our case here with ATC, so what happens, going, very similar to the COVID model, when the tower, had a COVID case, they have to go in and disinfect. So they would shut down and go to what's called ATC 0, where there's no one in the tower. That happens to us. This situation doesn't happen often. We have not, I think we have one incident so far since the shutdown for a half hour, so a controller could take a break, to use the facilities, etc. And then they were back at it. However, and it was during a time when we had no air carriers. So, but normal operations, our tower closes at 10 p.m. So that's a common, when everybody uses the common traffic flash frequency or CTAP. So our pilots are used to that situation. However, when you have the volume of traffic, what happens is it slows things down. And so we've seen minimal delays typically from other en route centers like Minneapolis Center or a large hub airport like Chicago. We've seen 15-20 minutes. Usually they're on our later night flights though, coming in a little bit late because of throughout the day, that plane is a few minutes delayed here and there. So we've been very fortunate not to see extensive delays due to that. We've seen other airports, large airports on the East Coast, DC, have, and we've seen West Coast airports like Burbank, where they've gone AT0 for multiple hours. So far so good. Overall, our biggest concern, the airport district office is still operating. They're still processing the grants to set that up. So when money does flow, everything is in place. So we're very fortunate in that regard because we're not waiting on money. But I mean, if the shutdown goes to March, that could be an impact to us. Hopefully it doesn't go much longer.
any other board comments?
A couple comments. First of all, I wanted to commend Kevin Klein on, he's got a lot on his plate. He's doing a good job delegating. And one of my favorite things every meeting and every packet is his activities report, and I've told him so. I love to see the transparency, like what's going on, and those bases are getting touched. We're looking at a big project at the airport, we're also at the county looking at some big projects, and the fact that he's meeting with the airlines, and I know he puts that on there a couple of times, but he's probably meeting with them almost daily, just, feeling what their needs are as we spend a lot of local dollars to increase infrastructure and make sure we're not making an airport for the airport, we're making an airport for the airlines and the passengers, so that we're the portal to the world from right here in northern Michigan. So I just want to commend you on all the and your staff that's picking up the ball and going to those seminars, so you're not tied up in all these little niches, but your staff, the attitude, the culture that's been created under your leadership, as a group effort, but you facilitated that, so thank you. And I also want to thank Lisa Korn for giving her report. She doesn't get paid any more than any other road commissioner, but she is one of the most passionate road commissioners I have ever seen. And she'll tell you all about the turning radius and things. We've had, as a county commissioner since 20 years ago, we've had a lot of road commissioners, and it seems like they were just checking the box, showing up, and she shows up at these meetings. She doesn't have to as part of that service, but she does. So I want to thank Lisa, and also just that passion for the local prosperity and doing her part. So thank you.
That's hard to follow that act.
Yeah. I would like to comment on the economy lot. It looks great. Looks like lighting's about ready to go in, and
Well, I think the last couple, yesterday, today, the paint
marked, yep,
Yeah.
and then we'll get lighting mid-month, we're just waiting on some lighting poles to come in, yep.
Good.
That's great. Any other?
Paul has.
Oh, yeah,
For
thank
personnel.
you. Yep, thank you. We will be, now's the time we review Kevin's performance. We've streamlined a little bit, so you'll be getting, an email from me with an online survey this year. You know, we've had this onerous 20-page, review of Kevin, so, we've just made it a little easier to respond to. There's room for comments in every budget category, but once you go through and complete that online, you send it in, it'll go directly to Heather to accumulate those, and then, the personnel committee will gather that, produce a report for Kevin's performance. So, it was a great effort by Kevin and Heather and our IT person to make that easier to get, and I know it's been very onerous in years past, so you'll still be able to review Kevin and make your comments, and so forth on the performance as always, so, be on the lookout for that, please get that
It
turned around.
should be in your email as we speak, Heather sent it out, right?
201, yes.
So, you should have that. If you want to stay after, Frank can help you and send you your link so you can use your computer. Otherwise, you can do it at home, but, Frank is here. So if you have any issues signing into your TVC report account, Frank is here. He can help you with any of your computer needs in regard to completing the survey. Frank is here. So.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, sir.
Just one, when you talked about it being a gateway, I had a meeting in Chicago, so I had luggage. And I was the only one there from our airplane that was full getting luggage. So everybody else was going someplace else, so pretty interesting. Never noticed that before.
Real quick, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair, I'll be speaking at the Economic Forum with Traverse Connect on Monday. We have seats available at our table, so let Autumn know if you're gonna be attending. I know a few of you already have, and we've reserved seats, but please, let Autumn know if you're gonna attend. I'll be talking mainly about the terminal edition, so. November 7th, we're supportive of Elk Rapids. Their chamber event is at the Grand Traverse. And I know Mr. Nelson, you're going to attend that, but if there's anybody else that would like to attend that, we have a table also for that event. And then Dan wanted to mention to anybody that needs their parking validated to see Ron. Because he said there were several people that had asked about parking validation, and Ron is here to do that. So those were the 4 additional items that I had. Was there anything else?
And it looks like we got something in our partnership with the Cherry Festival and Iceman.
Yep, so part of our Cherry Festival contract and other things, we do some advertising that carries over to the Iceman. Cometh, and Kat stopped by earlier today and wanted to make sure you had some socks and a token and a program for the upcoming November 8th.
So if we all start training now, we could probably, well, maybe not this year, but next year.
There's always next.
That's right. Okay, we stand adjourned at 4:13. Let's go have some chili.
That was an ass. Some of them are moving.
You're right.
I know.
All right.
Thank you for the
I understand. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
2019 was the last meeting we had here when it was
So only because I think non-political, you're taking lots of pictures for dumb questions.
I'm just taking lots of pictures.
Good answer. Yeah, I just never had anybody say they didn't take a lot of pictures before. And I just thought, what the heck, can ask, right? Second to none.
Happy birthday, Rob.
Are you filming it?
Yes.
For anything in particular?
Because you guys don't record readers. You are about the only